Food waste presents a complex issue that takes on many different meanings and forms. It is produced at every step along the food cycle: production, processing, distribution, and consumption. Although this is a global issue, we are going to focus on how prevalent this issue is at Lafayette College on the levels of distribution and consumption, focusing on food that is never served and food that is thrown out by consumers.
Unfortunately, Lafayette is a large contributor to the issue of food waste. A recent study found that students wasted an average of about 72 pounds of food per meal in the buffet-style dining halls. People tend to take more than they can eat, then this food gets thrown in the trash. Also, Bon Appetit makes an excess of food to ensure that there is always enough for the students and the leftovers go to waste.
40% of food produced in the United States is wasted in some form. Food production is often accompanied by the use of harmful chemicals, excessive water use, factory emissions, and more. These harms are all for nothing when the food goes to waste. The vast amount of food waste creates a need for higher food production, elevating the harms of industrial agriculture and leaving little room for sustainable farming and production processes.
This is an environmental issue due to its negative effect on the atmosphere. Organic materials like food scraps release methane when they are broken down by bacteria in landfills. Methane, a potent greenhouse gas, has been discovered to have a warming potential 21 times more than that of carbon dioxide. This is a key contributor to climate change, so it's crucial that people reduce food waste to lower atmospheric methane emissions.
In addition, waste from Easton's landfills is likely to enter water bodies since Easton is in a major watershed between the Bushkill Creek, the Delaware River, and the Lehigh River. Much of the food thrown out at Lafayette has substantial packaging, which can pollute these water sources. There are 3 landfills in Easton alone, generally located in lower-income neighborhoods. It is these neighborhoods dealing with Lafayette's waste.
Although we see Lafayette and different groups in Easton trying to reduce food waste, the real issue of food insecurity isn't being resolved. In Northampton County, 12% of residents are living without affordable, nutritious food. In Lehigh Valley alone, 1 in 10 people rely on monthly visits to food banks, and 1 in 3 children are hungry. The fact that perfectly good food is thrown out while others are going hungry is undoubtedly problematic.
Food waste brings up a multitude of injustices. The problem at Lafayette with students throwing out food they don't eat and dining services throwing out food that is not served is largely an issue of recognition and justice. People are not aware of the problem, and so it is not addressed. Dining services especially keeps information about their food waste hidden from the campus population. Students ought to be more informed on the issue.
The procedural injustice of food waste arises in that there are not strict enough regulations on how food is produced in the U.S. The surplus of food required to accommodate for food waste leads farmers to resort to unethical means such as the use of harmful chemical fertilizers and slave labor. These production methods disproportionately affect poor and minority communities, threatening their right to clean air, water, and even freedom.
The methane emissions from food waste are contributing to climate change. With climate change comes more frequent wildfires, longer periods of drought in some regions, and an increase in the number, duration, and intensity of tropical storms. These consequences disproportionately impact poor communities in dry and coastal areas, in which they cannot afford to fortify themselves against the disasters they face.
The problem of food waste amid a food insecure world brings up yet another set of injustices. On a distributive level, the people wasting the food here at Lafayette are not the ones battling food insecurity. People throw out entire meals without thought, while families in Easton go to bed hungry. On a procedural level, those dealing with food insecurity in Easton do not get any say in what happens to the food at Lafayette, nor the surplus of food in the area.
Lafayette already works to get its food from more sustainable sources with programs like La Farm, a small off-campus farm where organic food is grown for the dining halls. However, even this fresh food goes to waste, keeping La Farm from reaching its full potential. By increasing awareness of the issue with more studies like Weigh the Waste, and by promoting waste reduction methods like the use of smaller serving spoons, we can work to reduce students' food waste.
Through anaerobic digestion, the methane from food waste can be captured in a landfill and used as a source of energy. At an engineering school, finding a way to develop anaerobic digestion methods on campus could be a really great research project for those engineering students. It could be an education opportunity, a chance to reduce food waste, and a means of getting clean energy on campus.
Another alternative to letting food pile up in landfills is to compost it. Bon Appetit has historically composted food at Lafayette, but recently relocation of the bins and a lack of transport to the new location has put a halt to the composting of campus food waste. Research should be done to achieve the most effective means of composting on campus to reintegrate waste into the food cycle.
Food recovery, the redistribution of leftover food to those who need it, is a highly effective means of combating both food insecurity and food waste. The Food Recovery Network started in 2011 when 3 students from the University of Maryland noticed a surplus of edible, uneaten food being thrown away at their school. They decided to take action and by the end of the school year delivered 30,000 meals to hunger-fighting nonprofits in D.C.
The FRN operates successfully under the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Food Donation Act. Passed in 1996, the law provides liability protection for food donors who have not been careless or unethical. The network aims to address 3 issues: that 22 million pounds of edible food from college campuses ends up in landfills each year, that 1 out of 6 Americans do not know when their next meal will be, and that students in college are in need of social work.
Since its foundation, the FRN has expanded into 219 chapters in 44 states and has resulted in the recovery of over 1.9 million pounds of food. In spring of 2017, Lafayette became a chapter. By joining in this deliberative approach, students can now contribute to reducing food waste nationwide. In just 5 recoveries, student volunteers have delivered 166 pounds of leftover food to Safe Harbor Recovery Home.
Unfortunately, initiating food recovery on campus has been an uphill battle. It is the constant back and forth with Bon Appetit, the food provider, to maximize the food recovered but still keep them from facing any insurance issues or penalization. While they are protected under the Good Samaritan Act, their hesitation persists. There are hopes to expand this program vastly in the coming years as logistical issues are figured out.
Another good solution to dealing with food waste is giving it to animals when humans no longer want it. There are several local farms with animals that would gladly eat it, including a rescue farm that a group of students frequently visit. Farms, wildlife, rehabilitation centers, and other animal rescue groups frequently use excess food from supermarkets and restaurants to feed their animals. Lafayette could easily contribute its food waste in this way.
To further address the issue at Lafayette, we propose the following research questions in hopes that there will be a grounds for action on campus. Where does Lafayette send its food waste? How can we reduce or eliminate food waste? How can Lafayette work with the Easton community to address the issue? How can dining services and the farm collaborate more? These questions aim to raise awareness about food waste with the goal of overcoming recognition and justice.
The complexity of food waste can make it an overwhelming issue to tackle. However, when it is broken down, it becomes more manageable to address. The main goal is to redistribute the food surplus and compost what remains. On this website, we will dive further into why food waste is such a problem, particularly in Eastern PA, due to Lafayette's presence in the city, and further describe how students at Lafayette can help address this issue.